You know, like,
you love football. You watch football.
The commissioner could literally punt a baby across his office. I'm still going to watch on Sunday.
A lot of people talk about stand-up comedy nowadays. Many people often see comedians as celebrities or public figures elevated above themselves, but in reality, most comedians are just ordinary, everyday people like me and you. In fact, I'd say a lot of the best comedians working are the everyman. This brings us to
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. Bill Burr!
Who is Bill Burr? Some people describe Bill Burr as one of the greatest comedians to ever walk the earth. Have you ever had a friend who has had absolutely no filter, but you deeply cherish him because he understands you and exactly what you've been through in life? That would be old Billy Redballs. When you look at Bill, he looks like a guy who could either be moving your furniture or headlining a comedy club. Then when you hear his act, you realize he really is just like the rest of us. He has the same voices in his head, the same psycho thoughts, and the same type of insecurities that we all have deep down. Not only that, but he has an incredibly sharp and vicious way of saying the thoughts we all have in our head in an astonishingly funny way. How is Bill able to do this? How can he on one hand be the most relatable person in the world, but on the other hand be the funniest person in the room so effortlessly? Bill Burr might not always come off as the most polite person, given his sailor's vocabulary and his razor-sharp honesty, but one thing you can't deny is his aura of a regular guy mixed with the charisma and sense of humor of a guy that is anything but regular. There's a reason old Billy Redhead Burr is one of the most popular comedians on the planet with a die-hard audience. By the end of this video, you will know exactly who Bill Burr is, where he came from, some of the amazing work he's done, and what makes his style of comedy so hilarious and captivating. This is Bill Burr, the most ruthless comedian ever. On June 10, 1968, William Frederick Burr was born in Canton, Massachusetts. His mother was a nurse named Linda Ann Burr, and his father was a dentist named Robert Edmund Burr. Bill is of Irish and German descent, as you can tell from his red hair. He also had several brothers growing up. To put it mildly, Bill had a very rough family life, and this led to some pretty early points of trauma in his early childhood. Usually I'm able to find a good deal of information online about a comedian's upbringing and early life, but overall, Bill Burr is a pretty private person when it comes to his childhood, and I totally respect that. So I will be only using a lot of clips from his podcast and stand-up for support, because that's seemingly all we have to go off of based on what Bill has put out in the public. To begin with, Bill had a very rough relationship with his father when he was younger. He often cites that his father was always in a bad mood, and he would usually take it out on others in the household. He actually has a stand-up bit about how his father, whenever something went wrong in the house or broke down, just a few minutes into fixing it, he would start complaining about his life. Check it out.
My dad was like that. My dad's the greatest dude I ever met in my life, and he had a temper. Anytime anything broke in the house, 5 minutes into fixing it, he was bitching about his marriage. Oh, Christ, will you look at that? God damn it, Billy, give me that fucking screwdriver. I swear to God, I don't know what the fuck I ever got married for.
It's actually an astonishingly funny bit, but I'd be willing to bet there's a good amount of trauma behind this joke. He also says on numerous occasions how growing up he was very scared of his dad, and how he and his brother would always hide when his dad got home to try and avoid being yelled at.
My dad pulled in the driveway. Me and my brother's freaked like, fucking Dad's home. Shut off the TV. Try to hide. Dude, if I stand like this, do I look like a lamp? He won't see me, right? Can I just fucking chill out here?
Some of these stories are admittedly hilarious, though. One of my favorite stories Bill shares from when he was a kid about his father was when they had a snow day and school was canceled. I'll let Bill tell you the story.
Do you know my dad one time? We had one of those random day offs. He comes home, we're all jumping around and stuff. My dad, hey, what's going on? What's going on? And we're like, oh, we got tomorrow off from school. We don't have to do the homework, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, no. He goes, that's not true. That's not true. Like, yeah, we do. The teacher said. He goes, no, I just heard on the radio on the way back that on the way home, they said you guys have school. They were like, no. They have a parents teacher. And he just stayed with it and just kept going, no. I heard it. We were like, oh, what a ripoff. It's my dad. We believe him. So we went upstairs. We did our fucking homework. He didn't say shit. We go to bed. Wake up the next morning, do our paper routes. Doesn't say shit. Okay, get up at like 6 in the morning, do these fucking paper routes. We come in, we're eating breakfast, all right? We got all our books, we're showered, we're ready to go to school. We fucking walk out the door. He doesn't say shit. We go down and stand in front of the whole fucking neighborhood, who all knows his day off, stand under this tree waiting for the bus. He finally gets in his car to go to work, drives down the end of the driveway, rolls down the window, waves at us, and drives to work and left us there.
And how long did you wait for the bus?
Till a fucking neighbor drove by with their kids. Like, the bus usually
They're going
came-
to a water park.
I don't know where they were going, but they were going like, there's no school. And they were like, oh, our dad said there was school. So it made us all look like idiots. I remember calling up my dad. It's the first time I used the F word, and he didn't care. He was laughing so hard.
What a hilariously insane story. As a kid, this probably sounds miserable and like you were abandoned by your father because you have a narrow worldview. But there's something so damn funny about the idea of Bill Burr's dad driving by and watching his kids wait for the bus stop after gaslighting them into believing that there's actually school when they know there wasn't. That is some Norm Macdonald level trolling on display. I actually found a clip very recently of Bill Burr that I had never seen before, and in this video he shares a few stories about his family from when he was younger. You'll immediately notice this isn't the Bill Burr that you're used to hearing. He starts off by talking about dating a new girl and how after many months she really wanted to meet his parents, and this worried him.
I was dating this girl like 2 years ago. I've been dating her for like 8 months, and she wanted to meet my parents. She was really giving me shit, like, how come I haven't met your parents? Aww. And, I never brought anybody home to meet my parents. I was like 30 years old. Never brought anybody home. I didn't ever like meeting people in general. So she's like, how come, what's wrong with you? How come you don't want to meet me, bring you home to meet your parents?
This is probably the most vulnerable we've ever seen Bill Burr, next to the time he talked about Patrice O'Neill on Late Night with Conan O'Brien. Bill also reflects on how this wasn't just with the woman he had in his life never getting to meet his parents, but anyone who was a part of his life.
I started thinking about it, like, not only had I never brought anybody home, a girl home, and I was 30 years old, I'd never brought anybody home. Even like back in like first grade, like second grade, I had friends and I just never brought them home. So I started thinking, like, how the hell did that start?
Bill never really let anyone that was in his life over to his house to meet his folks because he had this crippling anxiety that his family and their bad energy would ruin anyone close to him's perception of himself. He then shares a story about the time he was waiting at the bus stop with some of the other students he went to school with, and how the stop was close enough to where his parents started arguing and you could actually audibly hear them at the house yelling at each other. I'll let Bill tell you more about it.
I think it was like when I was first grade, we used to have a bus stop, and it was like right out in front of my house. So my parents used to always be arguing. And my dad was like a maniac, always screaming, God damn fucking bitch. Just total psycho. My dad was like a complete psychopath, Like his nickname in my house was called The Thing. Because that's what he was. He was this fucking thing. That like if he wasn't around, we'd say, dude, is the Thing home? If he wasn't home, you could chill. He was just like never in a good mood. So one day I'm down at the bus stop. There's like, 10 other kids down there. And we're all like in first grade, second grade, third grade, waiting for the bus. And it's like towards the summertime, so my parents got like the windows open and shit. So I can start to hear like an argument starting, like, well, what the fuck do you mean you didn't know? And I'm sitting there going like, please let the bus come, please, for Christ's sake. And all of a sudden, you goddamn fucking bitch, screaming and shit. And I remember just looking at all the other kids' looks on their faces, like, I guess, this is like way before cable, so most kids never even heard curses, so they couldn't believe it. And that's when it really hit me that, man, my family's really screwed up.
If Bill watched this video, he'd definitely make fun of me for saying this, but it's actually incredibly heartbreaking to hear how self-conscious he is about how rough his family life was as a child. It makes me understand why he went so hard on Ethan from H3H3 when he tried to dig into Bill Burr's personal life without letting him know ahead of time where the interview was going to go. He then goes on to talk about how agitated his dad would get, and this isn't like the comedy bit we saw earlier either. There's genuine storytelling going on about something that really irked Bill about his dad when he was growing up in his parents' house. Check it out.
And I really get like all like I'm a 6-year-old kid again, like getting all nervous, like how my dad is gonna like act, because it's like embarrassing, I mean, I remember like he was one of these dudes where like I don't know, he's just always in a bad mood. Like if you try to like teach you something, he'd say it once, and then when you didn't get it, he'd just say it louder and louder. And I remember at 6 just going, this guy he's retarded. Like I remember we got a dog, and he's trying to teach this dog how to sit. All right, it's a dog. It doesn't speak English, and he's sitting there going, he's going, all right, sit. It's a little puppy. Sit. Sit down!
I think this is something that most dads do, especially with pets, but I could see why this, amongst all other things, really made it hard for Bill to understand his dad. This next part I'm about to show is where it really gets interesting though. Bill tells the story of joking around with his mom and how it would drive his dad crazy. I'll let Bill share it.
I think the worst thing he ever did to me, this is the one that really kind of made me like the anxious, like worrisome person that I am. I remember it was right around Christmas. I was really thinking this because I was driving this girl up for Christmas. He was giving me shit one day. He always hated when I was joking around. I think making my mother laugh somehow was, I don't know, bug him or whatever. So he kept giving me shit. Come on, man, you keep joking around, giggling all the time. You're acting like a little girl. And I'm thinking, like, because he's always fucking with me. I'm going, oh, God, here's a new angle. You asked him for a football for Christmas. You acting like a little girl. What the fuck's wrong with you? And I'm just sitting there going, Jesus. So, like, 2 weeks later, it's Christmas time. I got, like, 4 brothers, right? And we always sneak down to go look at the presents. So we go downstairs, right? There's all these gifts down there all wrapped. And we're all looking to see who got what, There's all these little tags. To Ed from Santa. Be like, to Bob from Mom and Dad or whatever. And I'm sitting there. Just wait a second. So I look, in like the middle of the tree, I see there's a doll. And I'm thinking, I got 4 brothers. What the f is there a doll sitting here? And I remember just looking at this thing. You ever see like those Spike Lee movies where like the background moves and the character doesn't? It's like one of those deals. And I look up at this doll, right? And it says, to Bill from Santa. And I'm like, what the f? Guy got me a goddamn doll. He came downstairs and he's laughing and shit. And he's making me take a picture. I'm like 6 years old and crying and stuff.
It's really sad to see how much pain this brought Bill in the moment. You can tell by that long pause that he was trying to get it out, but was on the edge and wasn't sure if he should say it or not. That does break my heart as a fan of Bill Burr. Then he finally brings a girl home to meet his folks, and this is how it goes.
And I'm thinking of this shit as I'm pulling into the driveway and I'm like freaking out because I'm finally going to bring somebody home to meet this fucking maniac. And I'm telling her, I don't know how this guy's going to be or whatever. So we walk into the house. It's like candles and shit, Christmas tree. It's all real nice, dim lights and stuff. She comes in, she meets my dad, and the dude is like totally normal. After me building this guy up the whole ride back, he's like fucking like, that dude from Leave It to Beaver. He's like the nicest guy ever. He's all cordial. And I remember I'm just getting like pissed at the guy. Going, why isn't he being a dick? And she's sitting there like taking me aside going, he's the greatest guy. And I can't believe you're saying all that stuff. He's smart, he's intelligent, he's so interested in what I have to say. I remember I was so pissed at the guy.
This kind of made me chuckle a bit based on the story from earlier about Bill's dad trolling him and his brother and saying they had school, and now he's like, why won't he be the same way he was to me to this girl I'm introducing him to? Then when he ends the set, he talks about how he wishes he understood why his dad was like this.
So he ended up being like the sweetest guy ever, and there was nothing anxious about it. I worried about it for like, I don't know, from the beginning of the time dating girls like 15, and I just ended up feeling really stupid. And I was kind of pissed. I was just looking at the guy going, why the f*** couldn't you have been like this, 20 years ago when I needed him to be like that? Rather than, being the way he was. But, I always want to talk to him about it, but we don't communicate, so I guess it is what it is. And that's my story. Thanks.
Maybe some of you have seen this side of Bill Burr, but I had never seen this clip before, and it really came as a shock to me the first time I watched it. To see Bill being vulnerable and putting his neck out to tell a story like this from his childhood that was so humiliating to him. After his early childhood, Bill Burr attended Canton High School, which is a secondary school located in Norfolk County, Massachusetts, from 1984 to 1987. It was during these formative years in high school when Bill started to take an interest in stand-up comedy. After graduating from high school, Bill would attend Emerson College in 1990, which is a private college located located in Boston, Massachusetts. He would spend his time at Emerson studying radio until he graduated in 1993 with a bachelor's degree in radio. While attending Emerson, one of his professors was David Foster Wallace, who was well known for being an American novelist and writer. Growing up in the suburbs of Boston, it was a guarantee that you'd get your balls busted by a bunch of different people, no matter who you were. Bill was clearly no exception to this, and got his fair share of ball busting. However, this brutal environment of being put on the spot constantly, all the time, and viciously roasted caused Bill to sharpen up his defenses and his ability to talk crap. He developed a keen sense of humor being around fellow massholes all the time, and this led to the candid and unfiltered perspective Bill holds that we've all come to know and love today. Before Bill started doing stand-up comedy, he worked as a forklift driver in a warehouse. Bill talked a lot about how he really enjoyed the independence and liberty that came with working in a warehouse.
I didn't mind working, but it had to be fun. That's why I liked working in warehouses. I liked blue-collar jobs because there was this thing where you were working, but you weren't in like this office or this cubicle. You weren't in this designated area. It switched. You had different job sites, and everybody was fucking funny. Like, I had a buddy of mine, he did construction, and I went over to his job site one time, and dude, they were the funniest motherfuckers, and they had like catchphrases. They had this thing where they would do if anybody bitched, they would just like, someone would be like, where the fuck is my nail gun? Blah, blah, and you hear somebody all on the other side of the house just go, wah! And do like this baby thing, this wah thing, and that's what they would, because
Bill actually went on the record to say, quote, "If my boss gave me a rough time, I could just get on a forklift and just like drive away," end quote, which is a pretty funny way to escape the conflict at the workplace. Then on March 2nd, 1992, Bill Burr would perform stand-up comedy for the very first time at an open mic in Boston, Massachusetts. Given a lot of Bill's experiences with his family, living in Boston, and his unapologetically honest opinions, he would write a lot of his early material about these experiences that he had. He was only 23 years old when he started, so it took Bill several years to find his voice and determine how he was going to share his experiences from his childhood in a humorous way. Some of Bill's comedic influences include George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Patrice O'Neill, Sam Kinison, and that hypocrite Bill Cosby. After just a few years of doing stand-up comedy, Bill would move to New York City in 1994 to seek greater notoriety and opportunity. He started to appear in numerous shows, performing stand-up such as Showtime at the Apollo in 2000, Comedy Central Presents in 2003, Just for Laughs in 2004, One Night Stand in 2005, and Live at Gotham in 2006. Also during this time, he co-starred in the TV series Townies in 1996 and appeared in Two Guys and a Girl in 1998 and Law & Order Criminal Intent in 2002. Then in 2004, Bill would make a few appearances on legendary Comedy Central sketch show Chappelle Show, and this would continue to grow Bill's popularity as a comedian. Along with that, he very quickly became a regular on the New York City comedy scene and built a reputation for his no-nonsense, irreverent style of comedy, which as we know often revolves around his observations on everyday life, relationships, and societal norms. Based on this type of comedy being so relatable for so many regular people, Bill was set to blow up at any moment. After many years of working hard, living in New York City doing stand-up comedy, Bill eventually got passed at the Comedy Cellar, and he actually shared a story of some advice he received from Dave Chappelle in the late 90s when he was performing at the Comedy Cellar. I'll show you right now.
Dave Chappelle, I remember in like 1998, he said to me, he was sitting on the stairs waiting to go on. I was on stage at the Cellar, the stairs you come down. Yeah. I was sitting there and just waiting to go on, heard some of the stuff I was doing, and he told me, he basically said, the road that you're going, he goes, it's going to take you longer, but when you hit, you're going to hit hard because, basically saying it was a solid foundation. And that, like, him just taking 3 seconds to say that to me, like, sustained me for like 4 years on the road.
To hear this advice from a comedy legend seems absolutely astounding. Dave probably had a massive influence on Bill too, since they were on Chappelle's show together and worked at the Comedy Cellar, so something like that must have meant the world to Bill. Then in 2006, Opie and Anthony from the Opie and Anthony radio show had started a comedy tour that would be called the Traveling Virus Comedy Tour, which featured some of the greatest comedians in the world at the time, and Bill was invited to come perform at all of the shows. Having been a regular on the Opie and Anthony radio show, Bill would accept this offer and was eager to perform on this comedy tour. Bill had absolutely no idea what was about to come though, and how participating in this tour would lead to one of the most legendary and iconic moments in comedy history. The Philadelphia rant from Bill Burr is one of the most iconic and legendary moments of comedy to ever take place. It is a legendary rant that took Bill from being a really funny working comedian to one of the biggest and most popular comedians to ever pick up a microphone and tell jokes. To get a crystal clear understanding of what happened that day, we need to start off with the full timeline of events. The Opie and Anthony Traveling Virus Comedy Tour started August 5th, 2006, and the first city was Worcester, Massachusetts. Obviously, this was in Bill's home state of Massachusetts, so Bill performed on this first show and did absolutely fantastic. Then a little over a week later, the next show was set to be in Philadelphia at the Wachovia Center on August 15th, 2006. That night, the lineup of comedians was absolutely stacked with names such as Patrice O'Neill, Ralphie May, Tracy Morgan, Bob Saget, and so many more, but the Philly crowd was just not having it that night. In the beginning of the show, one of the comedians was booed off stage. I did a lot of research, but I couldn't actually find out who it was that got booed off stage. But then comedian Rich Voss went second, and he was also booed, but what he did was he said, "If you keep booing me, I'm going to bring back the first guy," and this won over the crowd temporarily, but it ultimately gave them the power of deciding who was worthy and who was not. Then when Bill went up, everything changed. Bill immediately went into his act and tried to do jokes, but then when they weren't enjoying it and the crowd started to boo him, he immediately went on the offensive.
I'm cooking my brain talking about nothing. I'm just walking around like, yeah, I just got a cheeseburger. Oh, f*** all you people. You know what, you fucking losers? I hope you all fucking die, and I hope the fucking Eagles never win the Super Bowl. Go f*** yourselves.
All the years of living in Boston and having his balls busted came out in rapid succession. Bill was not going to take any crap from these disrespectful drunk morons who didn't even deserve a comedy show, quite frankly, and he absolutely laid into them. If you think that this one clip is where it stops, then man, are you in for a treat. He proceeds to go so much harder and starts wishing them death. Check it out.
Hey, throw out some topics. Let's talk about heart disease, something you're all gonna fucking die of, and I'm gonna laugh at your fucking funerals. It's gonna be great. You're all gonna get fucking cancer, which is fantastic because all your fucking heads are shaved anyways. No one's even gonna notice. You're gonna get fired for coming to work too late because they're not gonna notice that you have fucking bone marrow cancer. The only thing's gonna give it away is me laughing at you in the fucking background.
This was absolutely insane. All the comedians were trying to be diplomatic with this audience, but Bill wasn't extending a single olive branch to these morons. After wishing them death from cancer and heart disease, he talks about terrorism. I'm not going to spoil it, I'll just show you.
The terrorists will never bomb you people because you're fucking worthless and no one cares about you. You are this high above New Orleans. No one gives a shit. FEMA would never show up for you fucking ass. I hope your mother has herpes.
What's even crazier about this clip is the crowd goes from booing him to laughing at him and then clapping for him while he's eviscerating the entire city. It's almost like these drunk idiots respected him even more for not taking their crap. Also, the entire time Bill is destroying and dismantling Philadelphia, he's counting down the minutes on his time because he refuses to walk off early. He was going to take every available second to cook the ever-living snot out of this ungrateful audience.
10 minutes left. Look at you. This is what you want. Is this what you want? Bunch of fucking losers. Fucking Rocky is your hero. The whole pride of your city is built around a fucking guy who doesn't even exist. You got fucking Joe Frazier is from there, but he's black, so you can't fucking deal with him. So you make a fucking statue for some 3-foot fucking Italian, you stupid Philly cheese-eating fucking jackasses.
By the tail end of the set, you can tell that Bill really didn't want to be up there, and he actually reflects on this in a later podcast appearance that we will watch in a bit. But he refuses to walk off early now that he has every right to sit there and tell Philadelphia exactly how he feels while getting paid big bucks for it. Then when Bill concludes the Philly rant, he shares his incredibly abrasive and direct closing remarks with the audience and walks off to a standing ovation. Watch this.
Listen, I'm out of time. You guys were here, man. Thank you very much. All of you go f*** yourselves in your own assholes. Have a good night. You guys, let's hear from Bill Burr.
What a crazy way to walk off. Even at the end when he ruthlessly trashed Philly for 13 minutes straight, when asked to give it up for Bill Burr, the people just lost their minds and couldn't help but stand up and cheer for him. Bill's immediate reaction to the show was that it was a complete disaster, but all of the comedians in the back waiting for him were telling him how he did an amazing job and that he didn't realize how big this would be for him. Bob Saget was on the Joe Rogan Experience, and he shares the moments with Bill Burr directly after the Philly rant. Watch this.
And at the end, the boos were as loud as the cheers. I think he got a standing ovation. He didn't see it. Did you see that? It was fucking horrible. Oh, what the fuck was that? I went, Bill, that was great. If there's a tape of this is going to change. You don't even know. And I bring it up to him, and he's like, he doesn't want to talk about it.
So Bill was not happy with how it went. He was actually incredibly embarrassed and didn't even want to talk about it. He didn't realize that this unbridled rage he released on an obnoxious and annoying crowd would go on to be one of the most legendary moments in comedy history and take his career to the very next level. Then Bill went on to reflect on the entire experience on the Bill Burt podcast with Bert Kreischer. One of the points he makes in this is how he didn't even want to go up and how he would have been more happy to just do a comedy club nearby where he made a fraction of the money. Listen to this.
And I just snapped because I didn't want to be there. I just kept thinking the whole time backstage going, I didn't have to be here.
Yeah.
I could have been in a place in front of 150 people that wanted to hear my jokes. I would have made 10% of whatever I'm making tonight, and I would have been happy.
Yeah.
I don't fucking need... I've done this. I've been humiliated. I've had enough thrown at me. I'm 15 years into my fucking career. What was it? 06? 14 years into my goddamn career. Okay, I don't want to do this anymore. Okay.
So Bill made a decision to come on this tour and make extra money, but he really didn't have to. I think this, among his friends being booed in a city he vehemently despised, just made him snap and created an unforgettable evening for everybody in attendance. Bill even says earlier in the episode that he felt like the people weren't fully to blame and that he lacked professionalism when doing his jokes based on him not wanting to do the show.
I didn't want to do the show at that point, so really them booing to the level that they did was my fault. Like I wasn't a professional. What I should have done was I should have kept my head in the game to survive it. So I came out and threw gas on a fire that was already going, and I pulled up halfway through that second bit, and I said something like, oh, what, you guys aren't going to laugh at that? And then it was just this thunderous boo.
I think Bill is being a little too hard on himself given the circumstances, but this level of honesty and self-reflection is still nice to hear because he was really embarrassed and upset about the way he handled things. He even admitted that he didn't sell a lot of tickets immediately after this happened, but it still went down as a legendary moment in comedy history. Despite the fact that comedy fans loved the way he handled it, he stuck to what he felt was true and how he probably went a little too hard and a little too far on the Philly people. That being said, Bill was absolutely in the right to make fun of these people, in my opinion. Bill also tells the story about how he knew things were going bad with the show early on in Philly when he saw that Tracy Morgan went up and walked off very early. Listen to this part.
I knew something was fucked up when Tracy Morgan went out, and he was supposed to do 15 to 20, and he pulled up at about 7 minutes, 50 seconds in the middle of a bit, just stopped and went, thank you, good night, God bless, and just put the thing down. And you know that deal, dude. You do those uptown rooms,
yeah.
They boo in those, and you go into the black rooms enough, you can feel a boo coming.
Yeah.
And he was just looking around.
It's like he saw the ocean go out, and he went, "Oh, there's a tsunami coming, guys."
Smartest fucking dude of the night. He looked at this bunch of crazy drunk white people. They're not going to remember if I did 7 minutes or 17.
Yeah.
God bless. I'm out.
So all in all, this night was not set up to be a spectacular success for any of the comedians. Hell, Dom Irrera, who's from Philadelphia, got booed himself. That didn't stop Bill Burr from snapping and going on an absolutely ruthless tirade that really just solidified himself as one of the greatest and most unfiltered comedians to ever walk the face of the planet. This was the legendary Philadelphia rant of Bill Burr. Since we talked about Opie and Anthony's traveling virus comedy tour and how Bill Burr was on it, I think it's only appropriate to quickly take a few moments to discuss some of the funniest moments Bill Burr ever had on the Opie and Anthony radio show. Anthony Cumia and Bill Burr are currently not on good terms, but it's still fun to look back at some of the funniest moments they ever had together on the show. One of my favorite moments from the show is when Bill Burr talks about the ShamWow and how much he hates it as a product in a classic rant. Check this out.
I ordered the ShamWow.
What's the ShamWow?
Swear to God.
Dude, that's the biggest.
You know
I don't know what that is.
He takes this face cloth, he sticks it in an aquarium, and all the water goes away, and then he wrings it out over the sink, and the fish are coming out. It was incredible.
Dude,
I'm like, and he's like, you know what he got me? He goes, you'll never have to buy paper towels again. And I'm like, that's good for the environment. I'm getting one of these, right? The ShamWow. But
what happened with the ShamWow?
I might as well be wiping up water with this plastic bag. That's about how good it is. You just move it around. Dude, I'm on a hardwood floor, and I can't get it all up. And
when did it sink in that, oh my God, I was ripped off?
The second I got it, and it smells bad, the whole thing. But I continue to use it because...
Were you so excited when the package came in the mail, like, oh, my ShamWow is here?
Oh, I was literally expecting, I was going to go stick it in the toilet to do a demonstration.
You see how much it absorbs.
Yeah, check this out. And just wring it out to the top of the toilet.
I love this. What a hilarious rant on how trash ShamWow is. Just hearing Bill Burr boil down anything that's phony or faulty is absolutely hilarious, and I could listen to it all day long. Another hilarious story for me was when Bill tells the stripper story from when he was on the road with comedian Joe DeRosa. I absolutely love this one.
We're working the improv, and so I'm not going to say where, just in case they're listening there. So these two come out to the show, sit in the front row, titties out, the whole damn thing, right? Talking to them, lady, figure out that I'm pretty much thinking that they're strippers, right? So it's the end of the weekend. I had a great weekend, and the whole staff, everybody's going out. So I'm buying some rounds. So the first comes in, and I just bought Joe a drink. I'm like, hey, you want something to drink? She's like, yeah. So I get a drink, we're talking or whatever. And then like 10 minutes later, the second one comes walking in. The first girl was cool. Like the first stripper was cool, but the second girl had a voice that literally could break the glass on those flat screen TVs. I wanted to fucking choke her. So she comes up to the bar and she just says, hey, titties all over the bar. She looks at me. She's like, hey, Bill. She's like, what are you drinking? And I already know what she's doing. I'm like, well, I'm drinking an Oktoberfest. And then there's like an awkward pause, and she's just like, how is it? And I'm like, well, it's delicious, right? And then once again, typical stripper. She's like, well, there's no money to be made here. Moves to the next, which is Joe. And then she goes, Joe, what are you drinking? And Joe gets this and grin on his face, and he goes, a Bud Light. Why? Would you like to buy me one? Right? Dude, and me and the other stripper just start laughing our asses off, and now this girl's like caught. She's like, what? What, you don't think I'll buy a round? I'll buy a round. And then Joe goes, yeah, why don't you buy it? Buy a round. Why don't you pay it forward for every fucking guy who ever bought you a goddamn drink and you took it and you walked away? You know what I love about Joe? I had no idea that he hated women more than me. You should have seen...
I love how Bill has to end the story by saying that he had no idea that Joe DeRosa hated women more than he did, while laughing his ass off at the same time. It's absolutely hilarious. Another insanely funny story Bill shares with Opie and Anthony was the time he got arrested for drinking and driving in Boston. This one speaks for itself. I'll show you a bit of the story.
Yeah, I got pulled over, and it was brutal. I blew like a 1.9, just open and shut case.
Yeah,
that was the 80s, dude.
Marginal.
It was the 80s.
That's impressive.
It was the 80s. I went big.
Now .08 will get you, right?
Yeah.
Oh, it was .08 back then, too. So basically, I went in there, and I was just going to plead guilty. So I was just going to show up there with nobody. My dad was going, you need counsel. You need some counsel. So he ends up hooking me up with one of his patients he was actually a tax attorney for a drinking and driving case. And this is how he knew my dad was. He basically... The lawyer had gotten drunk at a barbecue, fell down some stairs, and knocked his teeth out. That's how he met my dad. So I'm sitting there scared to death, not knowing what's going to go on. And I say to my tax attorney for my drunk driving case, I go, I'm not going to take the stand, am I? He goes, no, don't worry, I'll handle this. And I go, right off the bat, Mr. Burr, will you take the stand, please? And then immediately, my stupid attorney starts acting like he's shuffling papers and stuff.
Oh, no.
And I just remember being up on the stand, and I'm just sitting there going, the guy's going, so you agree under the penal code 76950, blah, blah, blah. And I was literally going, look, all I'm saying is that I was drinking and driving. And the guy goes, so you agree under the penal code? And I'm looking over at my lawyer. He's pretending to write.
Is he supposed to be helping you?
Dude, he was such a tool. Like, he literally was, we were walking into the courthouse, like, as we were walking in, he was reading my police report, which was hilarious, but tragedy plus time. The time hadn't happened yet. He's like, hey, you remember saying this? Like, I swear to God, laughing at the police report. And I'm like, dude, this really isn't that funny to me right now.
This bit is really funny when Bill just breaks down a terrible mistake he made as a kid, but he can do it in a hilarious way, just describing the entire thing. It's also funny to know that Bill Burr's dad knew the judge who was ruling in the case. Another moment I'll share is when Bill Burr was at a club on the road and he got a letter from one of the audience members. I'll let Bill tell you the story.
A woman got kicked out of one of my shows, and she was such a control freak that she wanted to sue the club. She didn't want to pay, and they said, no, you ate and drank, you're paying. So she leaves, and like the next day, they improv miraculously, even though the whole crowd cheered when she got kicked out, they got a letter from some woman in the crowd who 100% agreed with this woman and didn't agree with me at all.
Wow.
Can you believe that? I've never had anybody do that. That's what I wrote her
great.
back. I wrote it back. In all my years of dealing with drunks, all the deplorable behavior, I've never had one stoop to the level of impersonating an impartial member of the audience in an effort to justify their pathetic behavior and try to get me kicked out of a club. You ought to be ashamed of yourself.
The fact that this woman had the balls to send a letter while pretending to be someone else in the audience is crazy. And Bill was absolutely right to say that she should be ashamed of herself. And of course, we'll never forget all the legendary moments of Patrice O'Neal and Bill Burr on Opie and Anthony at the same time, arguing or laughing at something together. Here's one of my favorite moments.
Well, he cleaned up the area. He cleaned it out. That's what I look at. Same thing down New Orleans. New Orleans was a cesspool. He cleaned it out.
Absolutely amazing.
And
People think
I'm
this
telling
way.
you, this mayor, he should just shut his mouth. The reason he wants a black America is because that's the only way he got voted in there.
Sir,
that's what
I think nature has a way of, taking care of itself, but you can't start.
You don't think it has anything to do with the fact that those cities were near the ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's what he does. He goes in and he just cleans out America.
What about the cities that are f***ed up, that are landlocked?
Well, that's when Americans go in and we clean them out.
Why? No, in the United States.
Religion and militia mixes.
Yeah.
For wonderful.
What about like evilness in Montana?
I don't know.
How is that?
You know what? You got a lot of them when he goes, I don't know. I'm just speaking on these gooks and
evil people always live near the beach. God's plan. I don't know. All right.
It's obvious that Patrice O'Neal was like a big brother to Bill Burr and how special their relationship together was. And you can further see this on the Late Night Show with Conan O'Brien, where Bill Burr was one of the guests, and when asked about Patrice O'Neal, he starts to get emotional.
For Patrice O'Neal, one of the great, funniest stand-ups ever.
Funniest comic I ever saw. Unfortunately, passed away. Sorry.
Let us never forget the special moments that these two shared together, and a lot of these great moments we got to hear on the Opie and Anthony radio show. These are just a few of my favorite moments of Bill Burr on the Opie and Anthony radio show. Even though stand-up comedy is the meat and potatoes of what makes Bill Burr so special and talented, he's also had numerous roles as an actor in movies and TV shows. I mentioned a few of his roles on television earlier, but he had several other roles over the years that we will cover in this section that are much more significant. From 2011 to 2013, Bill Burr played Patrick Kuby in Breaking Bad. This is one of his most iconic roles to date, and clips and memes are still shared around the internet involving Bill today. He was also on the cast for The Kroll Show featuring Nick Kroll, where he plays Detective Smart. Sharing the screen with fellow comedians always was a place of comfort for Bill after being seen in numerous episodes of The Chappelle Show in the early 2000s. Another fun Easter egg is that Bill Burr actually voiced the character Jason Michaels in Grand Theft Auto 4. Here's a line from the game.
Jason, I haven't seen you around much, man.
Yeah, I've been f***ing this Russian broad broker. Gets a psycho daddy real mad.
These were small roles though, but in 2015, Bill would create the American adult animated sitcom F is for Family along with Michael Price. The series is set in the 1970s and revolves around the Murphy family, particularly Frank Murphy, who's voiced by Bill himself. Frank is a short-tempered, foul-mouthed, but loving father and Vietnam War veteran who works at Mohican Airways as an airport baggage handler. The show explores various aspects of family life, including parenting, work, relationships, and the challenges of raising kids during a time of social and cultural change. F is for Family combines humor with darker and more dramatic elements, addressing issues such as changing changing dynamics of the American family, the challenges of the working class, and societal norms of the 1970s. The show received praise for its unique blend of comedy and drama, as well as its authentic depiction of the time period. Bill Burr's distinctive voice and humor contributes to the show's irreverent and edgy tone. The show had a very dedicated fan base and was a very successful project for Bill, but it would unfortunately end shortly after the start of the pandemic on June 12, 2020, after airing its 5th and final season. Bill's acting career did not stop here though, because he would go on to act in the Star Wars TV show known as The Mandalorian, playing the character of Miggs Mayfield. Out of fear of being copyright claimed by the disgusting corporate mouse, I will encourage you to look up some of Bill's lines in the show because they're admittedly pretty funny. It seems as Bill's career progressed as a comedian, directors just hired him in their show or movie to basically play himself, which is pretty damn funny. Then later in 2020, Bill Burr would act in the movie King of Staten Island, where he played Ray Bishop, and this movie was directed by Judd Apatow, and this was another great movie where Bill got to act alongside Pete Davidson, and basically got to play himself the entire film. Finally, and most recently, Bill Burr directed and starred in the movie Old Dads, which seems to be receiving bad reviews from critics, but apparently very good reviews from audience members. Some people are calling it the funniest movie in 15 years, while others are calling it an unfunny assault. The movie has a 28% rating on Rotten Tomatoes from the critics, but 89% from audience members. There's a lot of drama and conflicting opinions on this movie, however, I haven't personally seen it myself. I think I will make a video about this movie once I watch it, but for now I'm going to assume that the critics are out-of-touch idiots who don't understand what regular audience members want in a movie, but that it's probably also not a 90%. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but all in all, Bill Burr is a stand-up comedian, but outside of his mastery of comedy, he's also a successful actor and director with several more tricks up his sleeve, and this makes him multifaceted and much more talented than your average comedian. In May 2007, Bill Burr started his own podcast titled The Monday Morning Podcast. This show is an hour-long podcast that Bill Burr does where he speaks candidly about his own personal experiences. Since he started it in 2007, it has become one of the most popular comedy podcasts in the world. The podcast typically airs twice a week, with episodes released on Mondays and Thursdays. Unlike a lot of other comedy podcasts, the format of the Monday Morning Podcast is largely unscripted and conversational. Bill Burr uses the platform to share his thoughts on a wide range of topics. He often goes on humorous and sometimes rant-filled tangents, providing a raw and unfiltered perspective. Some of the topics he touched early in his career were current events, going on tour, and sports, and some of the more modern topics he talks about, his personal life and experiences, pop culture, and some modern political and social issues. One of the distinctive features of the podcast is Bill's solo delivery. Unlike many podcasts that involve multiple hosts or guests, and sometimes use the guests as a crutch, Bill primarily speaks directly to his audience, creating an intimate and conversational atmosphere. He also incorporates ad reads into his episodes, injecting his unique comedy style and delivery into the promotional content. All of these aspects of the show make for some of the funniest Bill Burr moments we as an audience have ever gotten to hear. One of my favorite rants Bill has ever done is when he goes off on an angry woman that sent an email to him and called him a misogynist. This woman lacks any empathy for men, so she goes off and Bill, in response, rips her a new one. Check it out.
Hey, Bill. I love the clueless email questions from your male listeners. That's always a great way, by the way, to get the other people to listen to what you have to say. Right out of the gate, just start insulting them and talking down to them. The guy was asking, why is it never enough to please a woman? Since he admits he isn't home a lot, I'm guessing his wife/girlfriend is doing all the dirty work for him. His laundry, cleaning, cooking, picking up after him, etc. All right, let's stop right there. She's doing all the dirty work. Let me ask you guys a question. Would you rather sit home doing laundry? First of all, laundry is the most overrated fucking chore ever. If you have laundry in your fucking apartment, what that takes all of a minute to load the fucking thing in. And if you're not colorblind, it probably takes 45 seconds to load it in. And then you go back to watching The Price is Right. Cleaning, cooking, picking up after him. I would rather do that than do what this other guy's doing. This other guy is working like 60 hours a fucking week. It literally is never enough. You're actually proving this guy's point. So she says, my husband does the same damn thing. I'm like, what can we do for fun today/tonight? And the only thing he can come up with are things that interest him. Well, what can you come up with? Can you come up with anything that doesn't interest yourself? You selfish You're doing the exact same fucking thing. And it's unbelievably selfish for you to sit here have like a day that's for both of you, and it has to be 100% about you.
Even someone as outspokenly liberal as Bill Burr can't help but take the guy's side on this because this woman is absolutely crazy. On top of destroying this woman with his rant, Bill also talks about how hard it is to succeed as a young man in your 20s trying to chase a dream, and how he lived that life for many years, and how a lot of girls simply don't understand what guys have to sacrifice in order to make it happen. Listen to this.
This guy is out working his fucking ass off. This is the thing that women don't understand. What they don't understand is, this is, maybe I'm being a moron again, or a douche, as this lady says. I think a lot of women don't understand what it takes to be successful. What it takes is sacrifice. And in your 20s, you have to work your fucking ass off. That's what I did for 5 years. My first 5 years in this fucking business, I had no girlfriend. I had no social life. I had nothing. All I was doing shows and fucking rubbing one out. That's what the fuck I did every goddamn day. I went to work. I was writing jokes at work. And at night, I got in a piece of shit car. And I would sometimes drive to another fucking state. And you know why I had no girlfriend during that time? Because none of them could understand what I had to do to get where I am today. All of them were giving me shit. You're doing stand-up again tonight? Do you realize how many Richard Pryors are fucking working at a Home Depot or Jimi Hendrix because they hooked up with the wrong fucking twat who talked them out of their goddamn dream because they didn't want to hear it? Because they said you needed some sort of responsibility. This fucking guy is doing the right thing, and she's calling him selfish. He's at work, busting his trying to get ahead. So when he's 40, he's not a fucking loser. And he has, and they all want the fucking house. They all want it fucking yesterday, but they don't want to get through the bullshit of it. They don't want to go through the bullshit of it where you actually have to not see him for a little while.
This is not only a very true rant in regards to how hard it is to make a dream come true in your life, especially in your early 20s, but how a lot of women nowadays don't understand that men have to work a lot to build the life that they themselves desire most of the time. Some women, not all, please don't freeze my bank accounts, good lord, some women talk about wanting a man who makes a lot of money, but then in the same breath, they will also complain that he's not around as much as they'd like him to be. That's because he's hustling. Bill also breaks the mold when he provides genuinely decent and sincere advice to listeners who are either going through a tough time or just want to know how to do something. One time a guy emailed Bill Burr about wanting to try stand-up comedy, and Bill gave some genuinely good advice to this guy. Listen to the advice.
Bill, I'm a cubicle-dwelling, suffocated engineer in Texas. I was rushed through the college machine with all the rest of the cattle, destined to find a job. I wish I'd followed my desire to be some sort of a writer, and after listening to your podcast, among others, and hearing from friends that I should have, I wish I'd given stand-up a shot. Well, now I'm 30 years old, staring down the barrel of 35 more years as a cozy, smug engineer, making 6 figures, but hating 5 out of every 7 days of my life. I don't have any wife or kids, but I feel like I'm too old to jump back into being a starving artist. What do? I would never tell somebody who's got a 6-figure paying job to jump into this fucking awful business. You think you're hating your life now? Just picture hating 5 out of every 7 days, except you're making fucking low 5 figures, and you're old now, and nobody wants to fucking book you, and you don't have any wife and kids. I'm telling you. I'll give you this advice. If you decide to become a fucking comedian, there's no turning back. You can't even consider quitting, and it has nothing to do with fucking talent. It has to do with desire. What I would do if I was you, I would keep my 6-figure job, and I'd start doing some open mics.
This is genuinely good advice. He's not being extreme and saying quit everything and chase this dream that you're unsure about, but he's also not saying to never ever try it because you'll never make your dreams come true. He gave decent, middle-of-the-road advice that anyone who has a dream and is in these circumstances can follow. To me, that's the beauty of Bill Burr's question and answer segment in his podcast, is he will be as honest as he can and tell you exactly what he would do in that situation. It's nice to know that Bill is a real-ass dude and he makes no bones about it. In addition to the solo episodes, Bill usually brings on his wife Nia as a guest, and the dynamic between Bill and Nia adds a different dimension to the podcast as they engage in similar discussions about various topics, and they go back and forth with their contrasting viewpoints. Bill obviously represents the masculine essence, and Nia represents the feminine. Sometimes they go back and forth about some of the more modern current events in news, sports, or they'll both give their responses to questions and situations that are shared by listeners.
Let me tell you about the Rams. They're one of the original teams that made up the NFL.
and they were in Los Angeles for a while, and that didn't work out. Well, it worked out for a while, and then they moved. Then they moved down.
I don't care.
To Anaheim, where Disneyland is, one of the happy places. And then after a while,
I'm gonna punch you in your patronizing red face.
Some people don't like Nia, and some people do like Nia, but you can't deny she certainly makes it interesting and adds an additional element to the advice and rants that we usually are just getting from Bill all the time. All in all, Bill does very well with the Monday Morning Podcast, and he probably makes every bit of $50,000 to $60,000 a month from his ad reads, YouTube ad revenue, merch, and everything else when you add it all together. Not only is Bill Burr's podcast one of the most popular comedy podcasts, but it's also one of the most profitable as well. I guess Billy Belichick is getting paid really well, and honestly, he deserves every penny of it. In addition to having one of the most popular comedy podcasts of all time, Bill Burr will also bring the heat to any podcast he himself goes on, literally and figuratively. Now, a lot of you know exactly where I'm going with this. The first person I will be covering is Ethan Klein from H3H3 Productions. Ethan Klein was an internet comedian who then became a podcaster, and when this happened, he would sometimes have some really awkward episodes in the beginning because it was a very new outlet for him. Now, when an internet comedian is funny online, it's all well and good. I'm not discounting what they do, but when he had on Bill Burr, who's an actual stand-up comedian who deals with everything funny all the time and is used to busting balls and getting his balls busted all the time, it got a little awkward for Ethan. Some of the moments these two had on their podcast is incredibly difficult to watch.
Oh, it seems like you're in love with your daughter, hearing you talk about her on the podcast.
Jesus Christ. Well, you're pretty perceptive. It's like you care about your own child.
Listen, how many siblings do you have?
I don't know, dude. The internet's too fucking weird to give out all that information.
Oh, you don't even want to say how many because you're afraid that it will somehow
by all means,
compromise
keep
your
talking
privacy.
about it. Is there any way you can cut this out? Jeez. I love how surprised he is. Jeez.
Well, you can mention the amount.
Anytime Ethan was uncomfortable or asked Bill a question he thought was stupid or that he refused to answer altogether, Bill would put him right on the spot, being the ruthless Boston masshole we've all come to know and love. I don't think a lot of it was meant to hurt Ethan's feelings, but as we know, Bill is absolutely relentless when he busts balls based on his upbringing, and not everybody is ready all the time to handle this energy when they receive it. But luckily, this was uploaded on Ethan's podcast and received millions of views, and the rest of us can privately laugh at how poorly Ethan handled this ball busting. I can't make fun of Ethan too much because honestly most people would react the same way to Bill's ball busting. Not everybody is well equipped to handle the situation like that. Bill will do this with anybody too, most notably other comedians. There was one appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience early during the pandemic, and Bill was roasting Joe for being so adamantly anti-mask. Check it out.
Going in and out of the house.
You want people to walk down the street with a mask on?
Let's not start this, Joe.
Do you, though?
Let's not start this. Okay.
Let's start it.
I don't want to start this bullshit. I'm not going to sit here with no medical degree, listening to you with no medical degree, with an American flag behind you, smoking a cigar, acting like we know what's up better than the CDC. This is like rollerblading. Everybody fucking rollerbladed, and then there was that one fucking homophobic joke, and then everybody acted like they never did it. And then 100 million fucking rollerblades got thrown into the fucking ocean. We all wore masks, and then all of a sudden, people are fucking sitting there. Well, you don't have the body type for it, dude. Your fucking knuckles would scrape on the ground.
Whether you agree with Bill's point or not, I think we could agree that the delivery in which he checks Joe is really funny, and since Joe is a fellow comedian who also started in Boston, Massachusetts, he knows that Bill is just messing with him, and that he should just let him go and not take it seriously, and to just laugh it off. Stand-up comedians usually handle situations like this much better than regular internet celebrities like Ethan Klein. He also had a rather rugged appearance on Theo Von's podcast, and a lot of people recall him being a bit prickly towards Theo when he would try to be serious.
I don't know. I couldn't get into it, and I didn't know what was going on. And it made me feel uncomfortable. I was like, I got to get out of here. Because I started to feel like everybody knows what's going on, and I don't know what's going on, I guess.
Yeah, that's for you and the therapist, buddy.
Yeah.
If that happens to you at the fucking movies. If you think the whole movie theater gives a shit about whether...
A lot of people interpreted this as Bill being a bit of a douche to Theo, and also Theo being a little bit soft and submissive towards Bill. It actually got really funny afterwards because Ethan and Theo decided to get together on a podcast, or what seems like a therapy session, and talk about their interactions with Bill Burr and how it affected them. Check it out.
We're talking about, welcome to the Bill Burr recovery group.
Yeah, I went into therapy after that episode.
Did you really?
I'm not even being kidding. I mean, I was having a depressive episode for a long time, and after that episode with Bill Burr, I came home and I that's when I started taking antidepressants, and I went to therapy.
Wow.
It was soul crushing.
If you watch the full clip here, it's pretty apparent that Ethan took it way harder than Theo did, which is to be expected because Theo's a stand-up comic with alligator skin, while Ethan's not as familiar with that world because of a lack of experience. Then what's really funny to me is when you hear Bill Burr talk about both these interactions, because he barely gives them any thought and just says, "Yeah, I thought it was fine." Classic Billy Redhead. These few podcast appearances were incredibly memorable, and I know there's more I could cover here, but if I tried to get all of these funny moments in interviews, it would end up being a 10-hour video. I think I will cover some of Bill Burr's funniest interview moments in another video sometime in the near future, but for now I'm going to end it here. These appearances were ruthless and legendary from Bill Burr, and people still talk about them to this day. Stand-up comedy is Bill Burr's bread and butter. For over 30 years, Bill has been grinding as a comedian and has learned the ins and outs of how to make people laugh so hard that no sound is coming out. So along with that comes an incredibly deep and quality discography of many great comedy albums. Bill Burr currently has 13 comedy specials that are all absolutely hilarious and brilliant in their own way. Bill Burr's specials include Emotionally Unavailable, Comedy Central Presents, One Night Stand, Why Do I Do This?, Let It Go, You People Are All the Same, Live at Andrew's House, I'm Sorry You Feel That Way, Walk Your Way Out, Paper Tiger, Live from Madison Square Garden, Friends Who Kill, and Live at Red Rocks. Out of all these specials, my favorite two are undoubtedly You People Are All the Same and Why Do I Do This? Before I dive into why these two specials are my favorite, I'd like to share some bits that are noteworthy to me because Bill has some of the funniest comedy bits in the world, in my opinion. In his album, Emotionally Unavailable, he talks about how some black guys will get racial with white guys, and how white guys can't get racial back, or else this happens. Let me play it for you.
I'll tell you, that's funny when someone gets racial with you when you're white, because you're not allowed to get racial back. It's against the rules. You can't do the shit, so it's like awkward. It's like the other dude's going, I'm Taco, you fucking white boy, you're like, you fucking jerk. No, you can't do it, because the second you get racial when you're white, then all of a sudden they wheel out that podium, and they have like the press conference. You know what I mean? You gotta be standing there going, I disgraced the company. I'd like to apologize to all the members of my family. I'd just like to state for the record, there was no air conditioning on the subway. I wasn't thinking clearly. I took some cold medications. I'd just like to apologize. I have nothing against Mexicans. I went to Tijuana. I had a great time. Please, I need this job. Please don't do this. You ever see the white dude up there he fucked up, he's just up there begging for his job. Please, come on, I got a mortgage.
There's just something so utterly funny to me about the visualization of once a white guy gets racial, people start wheeling out a podium and setting up a press conference so he can apologize to the world. It's just such an absurd scenario, but it makes me laugh my ass off every time I hear it. Because it's just so true that anytime a white guy goes on some type of racial diatribe, he has to go on an apology tour around the world, almost set up like if a world leader was giving a press conference. Another hilarious bit is in Let It Go, when Bill Burr talks about the reason why guys don't do a lot of things in their life because they're scared of being called, well, you know, here's the bit.
This is all true. It took me 4 trips to go to the supermarket to finally be able to buy this goddamn pumpkin. Because every time I would walk in there to get it, when I'd reach out and grab it, and all I'd hear in the back of my head is, "What are you, a f***?" And immediately, I had to turn around and walk out. Anytime you do anything remotely sensitive, heartwarming, anything that's going to make you more of a loving, caring individual, immediately all your guy friends suggest that maybe, just maybe, you want to suck a dick. It doesn't even have to make sense. You carved a pumpkin? What do you do next? Carve some guy's ass with your what a
It's funny because this is literally what goes through any straight guy's head whenever they do something that could jeopardize the perception of their masculinity even a little bit. Also, when other guys make fun of you, it doesn't even have to make sense. He's so right about that. These bits are just a few of many that are absolutely hilarious, and will have you bursting at the seams when you watch them. My first favorite special is Why Do I Do This? To begin with, the special was recorded in 2008 at the Jack H. Skirball Center for Performing Arts in New York City. The special starts out with Bill Burr riding the New York subway all the way to the Performing Arts Center, and then he walks out on stage to a standing ovation from his fans. In this special, Bill tackles all the popular topics he is most well known for, such as women, race relations, kids, and Bill's daily struggle with his own psychopathic thoughts. One of my favorite jokes Bill has is how Dateline NBC's To Catch a Predator is horrible press for white guys, and how he wishes the coverage was a little bit more balanced. Check it out.
That show To Catch a Predator, man, that is horrible PR for white people, huh? Jesus Christ. Can they move that show to an urban area every once in a while? Just catch a couple of R. Kelly's peeing on some kids, you know? Just balance it out a little bit. It's like this every dude walking in that house got to look like me, like, hey, man, a fucking 8-year-old, how are you?
It's freaking hilarious. The way Bill tackles this taboo topic here is brilliant because it's done so tactfully that no one tightens up and they all feel completely comfortable on board with this angle he took. Another hilarious moment of the special is when he talks about women and he calls them relentless. This might be my favorite Bill Burr bit ever. Let me show you.
I don't know, you know what? I just find women that just like, I think they're great. I don't want this to come off like, I don't want to come off here like I'm some woman hater because, you know, I know I'm a psycho, but it's just like, I don't know, I just find them to be like relentless. Just every day, they just got to come at you. They just wake up, they have an agenda, and so they're like these psycho robots that never run out of batteries, and every day they just keep coming at you, right? Then other days, you just got to get your hand up. You just got to just create this perimeter, something for them to bounce off, like, you just send that psycho energy in another direction. Buy yourself a couple of hours for freedom before they bounce off something else. And they start coming back. Go see my parents.
This bit is so relatable I can't even begin to tell you. Any guy out there can attest to this. Women are full of energy, and it's almost like they never run out of batteries. I remember the first time I ever heard this bit, I was howling laughing because it's summed up perfectly. I love the ladies, but man, you guys have a crazy amount of energy. I'll just share one more moment from the special that's hilarious to me, is when Bill does a bit about the movie covering the first all-black swim team, and he makes fun of the caricature of old white guys in these movies. Watch this.
These movies, like the characters aren't even believable. Like they always have to have like that, the over-the-top, uninhibited white racist character, you know? You know that guy, he's a guy like, he's supposed to represent all the white evil, you know? He's like the dude they always have like screaming during the movie trailer. They'd be like, they were the first all-black swim team. Get out of the pool! He's got like a big vein in his forehead. He's just screaming, not even looking around, you know? Dude, it's ridiculous.
My God, the delivery of this line just gets me every time. He's so right about that type of over-the-top racist white guy being in every single movie about historical racism. It's absolutely hilarious. Finally, my favorite Bill Burr special of all time is You People Are All the Same, which was filmed in 2012 at Lincoln's Theater located in Washington, D.C., and released on Netflix. This was my first Bill Burr special ever, and the bit that really stuck out to me was one of Bill Burr's most viral bits ever titled No Reason to Hit a Woman, which has been viewed over 20 million times on YouTube. I'll show you part of it.
They're like, there is no reason to hit a woman. There is no reason to hit a woman. And I was just like, really? I could give you like 17 right off the top of my head. Dude, there's plenty of reasons to hit a woman. You just don't do it. Dude, the level of ego behind that statement. What are you, levitating above the rest of us? You're never annoying?
This bit is absolutely spectacular. It's nuanced, it's well thought out, and unapologetically honest. All of these things make for an incredibly memorable and shareable sequence of jokes that every guy can relate to. Women can probably relate to it too if they're objective and willing to put aside the bubble of victimhood that they were gifted by society. This bit is honestly the only one I feel necessary to talk about because in my opinion it's one of the most legendary Bill Burr bits of all time. And he hit the nail on the head about male and female interactions and also the way domestic violence cases are handled by the public when being discussed. I'm going to share one more clip as a bonus, which is Bill's clip from the DC Improv where he's talking about the struggles of being a road comedian. Check it out.
So, no, I don't want you to feel like, that's why I just said you're good sports. It's not your fault that I'm a psycho, right? You're a wonderful person. If I wasn't a maniac, I would have been in the real world like you, helping people. Instead up here pathetically screaming, look at me, every goddamn night. Sure, I'll talk about it. What do you want to know about it? What do you want to know? You want to know what it's like to sit in a Red Roof Inn in the middle of Nebraska? Oh, I'm sorry. Whenever an American goes to book a vacation, they go, hey, Florida, Hawaii, let's go to Nebraska.
This entire video I hadn't seen up until just a few days ago, but I'd recommend watching it if you've never seen it before because it's amazing. All in all, Bill Burr has a long and distinguished body of work that speaks for itself, and he has proven time and time again why he's one of the most ruthless, honest, and relatable comedians on the face of the planet. Bill Burr is undoubtedly one of the greatest comedians of all time. In addition to that, he's also one of the most influential comedians working today, and many young comedians cite him as a contemporary and a hero, such as Mark Normand, Dan Soder, Shane Gillis, and so many more. Bill Burr hosted Saturday Night Live a few years ago, and if you watch this monologue, you can tell that the audience is incredibly uncomfortable the entire time. However, Bill does not pander to these people and just continues to do his material. This is another prime example of how ruthless and fearless Bill is on stage. I don't care what anyone says about it. Bill Burr's SNL monologue is one of the best we've ever seen because he embodies what a comedian should be. He's funny, and he knows his jokes are funny, so he refuses to pander to the people who start to get tense and uncomfortable. He could go off course and do something else, but he refuses to do that because he's a strong sledgehammer of a comedic force that believes in what he is saying. He's not scared of people not laughing. He's been through things that are much worse than that. He grew up in Boston. He was mercilessly roasted and made fun of there, and then he moved to New York City and became best friends with Patrice O'Neal, who was even more ruthless than Bill was. Why would he be scared of you not laughing when he's been roasted by Patrice O'Neal for years? All of these characteristics, whether people like them all or not, make Bill one of the most legendary comedians of all time, and no one will ever take that away from him. When Patrice died, Bill carried the torch the rest of the way for him. Also, I know Bill has certainly gotten softer over the years, and some of what he says now is a little annoying and worthy of criticism, and I don't agree with all of it, but please show just a little bit of respect and understanding for the guy. You're telling me that moving to Los Angeles, getting married, and having 2 kids wouldn't change you or soften you up a little bit? Exactly. So just show a little bit of understanding to the guy, whether you disagree with how he's changed his life or not, whether you agree with how he defended Nia for flipping off Donald Trump at UFC 295. Just appreciate what he's done and be happy that we got to see one of the greatest comedians of all time impact the world of comedy the way that he has. He deserves every penny of what he's getting paid now. He deserves every opportunity he receives, and I'm very happy for the man. This has been Bill Burr, the most ruthless comedian ever.
Hey everybody, I just wanted to thank you very quickly for watching the Bill Burr documentary from beginning to end. It really means the world to me, and I appreciate the fact that you guys love these documentaries, but he's undoubtedly one of the greatest comedians to ever live, and I'm really happy that I got to document him in today's video, and I really hope you guys loved it. Before I let you guys go, if you guys would like to support the channel, the easiest way to do it is to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this with somebody you think would love it. That's the easiest way to support me because it's completely free, and you can do it right now, and it's going to help build this channel and community up even more. If you guys want to take it to the next level, you can support me on Patreon, where you can see videos early, you can see exclusive content, and you can also have a guarantee of seeing your future requests for videos come true. Shout out to Jason Murray and Crossblocker for being a patron on my Patreon. Anyway guys, thank you again for watching the video. I appreciate you so much, you have no idea. Make sure you take care of yourselves, your loved ones, your family, your friends, anybody important to you. I love you, and I'll see you in the next documentary.